Whatever. All right. So we were talking. This is Outlier Podcast, episode 1 with Sean Matson, Navy SEAL, entrepreneur, business mogul, husband, father.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about your new venture. So if you want to continue that.
Yeah, I was just talking about Cardomax. So it's a supplement brand that we just launched that does everything in a oh, there we go. Perfect.
Hey, we could hook it up to the
there we go. There we go. We have our first caller.
Hey, Sean.
Coming in. Hold on.
Long time listener, first time caller. Yeah, this is the first episode. So how is that possible?
Yeah, that's perfect.
FBI, that's who. That's been listening on me the whole time.
They knew I was coming here. Oh, you knew Michael Thompson? Here we go. We'll
you want your company to be successful? Yeah, don't associate.
China? What is China calling me for?
So Cardomax.
So Cardomax is a supplement company that we just launched, and we do everything in liquid supplement packets. So think of like a ketchup packet, but all the ingredients for the supplements and different categories are in that ketchup packet type, and they're liquid based. So we have a 0.2 ounce, so 6 milliliters basically, and one that's a 3 ounce, and that's the 3 ounces are recovery one. But you mix it with 20 ounces of water basically, and then you get your supplements in that way. And we just felt like everybody else out there in the space is using powders and also not really a convenient way to do them. You got these big tubs of protein or big tubs of pre-workouts and others, and we just see a shift in on the go. People are always moving around. People want to move. They want to be on the like traveling and doing things, and so why not kind of create that supplement line that fits that lifestyle as well, so people don't have to carry tubs with them to the gym and try to figure out, they got their bag of white powder substance.
Yeah, I'm sure the bag of white powder has gotten people out of other situations. Going to the gym, like, swear, officer, like, it's just protein powder.
Yeah.
So it's similar to Thou, which we shall not name.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. No longer affiliated with formerly known as.
And that's what I liked about that past product, and that's interesting, because I've always been on the seafood diet when I used to work out. Seafood, eat food.
Yeah.
But that was the one thing kind of deterred me from supplements, was like just having to mix it. You have to shaker and all that. And
I mean, as I get older, I took supplements pretty heavy when I was in high school and in college, just because I needed them, because I was burning so many calories swimming as a D1 swimmer. But since then, I really don't take much more than kind of protein and just some of the lighter supplements, just because I know for myself, I try to eat good and try to eat like my meals, but even as much as I eat, I never can get enough like protein. I never feel like I can get enough protein in my diet. So that's one of the ones that I try to always add in, outside of, just maybe a multivitamin or something like that. But some of the others that we developed, the energy one is kind of like a pre-workout afternoon boost thing. The immune booster is really for things where your body finds it has stress. I mean, that's one thing that we see as entrepreneurs, and really just in life, your body is always dealing with some kind of stresses. And then our recovery accelerant, we really focus on TBI and helping your body get into that recovery state. And that's something that I've felt like over the years, I don't do a good job of. I don't stretch. I don't stretch like I should. That's
the one thing I never did.
Yeah.
My dad said stretch.
Yeah.
And if you're going to play football, be a long snapper.
Yeah.
And don't play football, play baseball.
Right.
And it was at Arizona State when I did a vertical and I landed, and this guy next to me was like, "Man, you're really fucking athletic." And it was Dustin Pedroia next to Travis Buck telling me how athletic I was after he just got drafted by the Red Sox. And I was just like, fuck. Yeah. And my dad's like, be a long snapper. I'm like, that's stupid, dude. Oh, what? They can't touch me now?
Right.
Oh, no one can line up over me? What's league minimum? 400,000? Yeah. I could do that for 20 years. League minimum after 15. So just one of those things. And then he's like, always stretch. And then go to the military and the plethora of injuries. So
yeah. It's one of those things. I need to get better at it. I still do a bad job. I'll work out and go right to something else and just not even do a stretch, and I'll feel it the next day. but trying to get better at it, and the recovery accelerant that we have, like I said, really more into the focus part of it with the TBI, but also getting yourself back into that recovery state after your workout quicker, so you can just have that cycle getting back into it.
And this is a dumb question. And so Woody was a D1 swimmer as well, who's behind the camera. How critical is stretching like after swimming?
It's huge. Yeah, I mean, the flexibility. I mean, we were talking about this with some of my neighbors the other day that all kind of played at D2, D1 sports in their own thing, basketball, volleyball, and other things like that. And we were just talking about how, to get that from that level of Division I to professional, right? Like it really, like I worked as hard as probably anybody in the professional, realm, or went to the Olympics in terms of my work ethic and things like that. I didn't have the talent, right? Like I probably put in the hours and work and things like that, and I had the determination and all that stuff like that Olympic athletes do. I just didn't have the talent either, right? Like there's some level, it's like I'm capping out, and I realize that, right? It's like I worked my butt off to be the best, swimmer that I could be, but I knew that I also was never going to the Olympics. I just didn't have that talent. I didn't have, the body construct to be able to do some of those things. Some of those guys have just incredible flexibility and things like, one of my strokes, I was an IMer, so I could never get my feet right on breaststroke to get them around, for example. And it's like, those people that have that just ability to do that, their kick is so much more powerful than my kick, even though, I can kill them in another, stroke, but it's just, they have that little bit of technique and that flexibility to make that happen.
So the irony of a Navy SEAL not being able to do a frog kick properly as well as I find that kind of funny.
Well, I could just do it better than the other SEALs.
Just not the people going on the Olympic team or trials.
Funny enough, I actually because I was a strong butterflyer. I was 100, 200 IMer and then 100, 200 butterflyer. But 200, 400 IMer. I did the dolphin kick on my side stroke. And so like I never did the scissor kick because I always just had that natural undulation of butterfly. And so they allowed you to do either the butterfly kick or the scissor kick. And again, like I said, I just don't have that power in there for doing that, but I have the power to do the dolphin kick. And so, I actually, when I did mine, I was like second or third in the country as fastest 500 time because I just knew how to do the dolphin kick good enough.
There's always like one or two guys that, like you, that would come along the training pool and they do that, and you just first off they can't see you underwater, and we have the mask on, and those dudes are just flying just sideways dolphin.
It was always, the other thing was I always felt like it saved my hip flexors, right? So because once you get done the swim, then you got to do a run or you got to do something else, and everything's all in that hip flexor. But I felt like doing the dolphin kick, while it took more cardio to do it, just because it consumes more oxygen. I felt like I was using my entire body to get through the water, and I wasn't just burning out my hip flexor, so that when I got to the run, I wasn't sitting there going and cramping up immediately because I was using that whole body, dolphin kick thing. So, and
while we're on the subject, so remind me where you went to college, and then in the realm of the swimming, as far as your experience making the teams, would you say that's probably like the number one equalizer that just weeds out people's in water competency?
So first question. So I went to Virginia Military Institute up in Lexington. So I swam there, obviously, and then but going back to buds and stuff like that. I don't know. Like there was plenty of guys that sucked at swimming that could just go and just do it, and we had a guy. Actually, one of my hardest swims was this guy who made it through with us, our original class and everything like that. Never got rolled, never anything. He just sucked at swimming, but he also was like, he was never going to quit. Yeah. And Zach, my business partner with Matbock and the other ventures that I got, he and I did this swim with this kid, and literally like it was the hardest swim that he and I ever had to do, because we were literally taking this kid and throwing him like as we were like out of the water, because the instructors came to us and was like, listen, you're going to make this kid pass. Like, he is an awesome kid. He's just not doing well at these swims. And we're like, okay. And they're like, listen, if you don't make him pass, like, you're going to fail. And we're like, well, shit. Okay. So, it was one of those things that just, it is an equalizer. I mean, there's a lot of different, obviously, phases of buds that, weed people out. We had a kid that ran, I don't remember his name now, but right in first phase, 4 mile time run, in soft sand for the most part, up and down, in Coronado. He would run in that 4 miles in 24 minutes. And so, I mean, he's running sub 6 minute soft sand with pants on and boots and everything else. Incredible athlete, not just in running. I mean, literally, like, he'd do push-ups well, he'd do pull-ups well, he'd swam well. I mean, just overall incredible athlete. And the first time we got surf tortured, so literally like day one of first phase, we're getting there. We just finished the 4 mile time run, and everyone's just like trying to keep this kid in view. And we get surf tortured, and he was the first kid to quit. And everyone was just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I mean, it was literally like we just got our head wet. We rolled back, and immediately he jumped up and took off to the bell, rang the bell, and 6 or 7 guys came in right after him and rang the bell with him. And it was just like, I guess they thought, hey, if he can't make it, I can't make it or something. But everybody was just like, after we got done the surf torture, we were like, who was that? Like everyone's like, who was that? Who was it? And saying his name, and everyone was just like, holy fuck, are you kidding me? Like, that kid was a machine. Just, I don't know.
You never know what's going on in someone's head.
Something just clicked in it, and he was just like, nope, not doing this.
Just like they were saying with the most recent Conor McGregor fight against Dustin Poirier, he gets kicked on the leg, and that thought process could be, dude, I'm worth $100 million, and I have a family. Like, what am I doing in here?
What am I doing?
Like, you never know what's going on in someone's head, and what the motivators are, or what the honeypots could be. And
it is. It's and too, like, I mean, I always hear the saying, like, no plan survives first contact, or whatever you want to say. Like, same thing. Like, his plan that he had in his head for that fight, could have been completely different as soon as he got kicked. It was like, once he got kicked, it's like, nope, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, I'm good. It's like, that could have been that single thing that just caused it to be like, no, I'm good, and lost a little bit of edge.
And so one of the things I've talked about, what interests me with you is, you going with the theme of being an outlier. You obviously are an outlier. You've made it to, elite group of people, top echelon of military special operations across the world, but that doesn't define you. And, the few interactions we've had through business and just kind of, maybe a lunch here or there, that's one of the things that's always like interested me about you is like, you meet Sean Matson, and it's not just about Sean Matson, the Navy SEAL. There's, if you follow you on social media and your LinkedIn, being a follower is a huge part. An entrepreneur, and if you could just kind of walk us through the maturation of how you became where you're at now. Like you said, VMI, then I'm assuming right after that went into the military, and then where did the businessman and the entrepreneur started to come in? If you could kind of just take us through all that.
Yeah, so, I mean, Zach and I were flying from San Diego up to Alaska when we came up with our first idea of a new cargo net system, and just thought, hey, we're going to sell this cargo net, make millions of dollars, walk away. And basically every mentor, investor, whatever you want to call them, kind of told us, like, hey, you just got to go build it. So we started formulating how we could, put this process together to get good ideas, from what we were doing, and take them and make them into products. But we didn't want to be like everybody else and just copy everyone else. Like we said, it has to advance. It has to provide value for those guys on the ground. And how can we do that? And so we really wanted to figure out how to be innovative in that. And so bringing those new technologies and process. And so, that was 2006. We didn't start the company until 2010. We didn't get our first product on the market till 2013. So, I mean, it took us quite a bit of time to kind of figure that out. Now, also, we were both active deploying quite a bit, traveling a lot, but what we saw as we were kind of cultivating these ideas was more and more guys just came to us with new ideas, and they were like, man, like, would you help me get this idea to the market? Hey, would you help me, like, I got this great idea, I got this thing. And we've heard so many great ideas, and we try to be selective on those ideas to bring them to market, but figured out how we could make sure that guy also got compensated with that.
A practitioner and user, especially in the military, is the best inventor.
Yeah, exactly. And then plus, I mean, we saw it as, okay, now we don't have to go hire a design engineer, right? Well, one, even if you hire a guy that has 30 years of experience in just, let's say, the SEAL teams, and he's done product development, knows that space, right? As soon as he leaves the teams, his resume that's it. His experience and everything like that. Yes, he has that experience, but his know-how of what's coming next might not be there because he's not there anymore. Like he has the ability to kind of connect some dots and things like that, but he's no longer facing that same problem anymore. He might have some experience to help with that, but he's no longer on the front line. He's no longer, that train's left and it's rolling through, and it should, right? It should always keep moving forward because, the team's not just one person. But that person has to realize that his ability to add value starts to, it's like a candle. It starts to go down real quick because, again, that train moves on. And so being able to ask these guys as they're on the front line, and as the dynamics of the front line continue to change, we can get immediate feedback from these guys, provide them a prototype, and give us immediate testing and feedback, and then go build that product. So it's always evolving, and it always keeps a fresh new products coming into there. But, so that was our idea and thought process of how we kind of started building it. But for me, and, Zach has a little bit different story, but for me specifically, I was in about my 10th or 8th year in the teams, and I was a platoon commander again on my 5th deployment, and or getting ready to go on my 5th deployment, and went through really troubled times with my ex-wife, and I had 2 kids, and really I just made the determination, like I being a SEAL was something that I wanted to do since I was 12 years old. So it was like, this is what I want. No, this is what I want to do. I want to do this for a career. But then when, that all happened, I heard this, and I really started putting it into practice. Is just, all right, what's important right now? Well, my family. My family's important. My kids are important. And before I even started having kids, I made a goal to myself of, you got to be a good dad. You can't just be a dirtbag. Like, I didn't have the best dad growing up. He ended up passing away when I was in 6th grade, and later found out that he actually, basically killed himself by overdosing on drugs, and just didn't have a really good upbringing from my dad's side. My mom was completely different. Like, she was the powerhouse of the house and everything. But I knew that I needed to be there for my kids and needed to be that. And I knew that if I, was going through this, kind of vicious divorce, that being the teams was not going to be the best place to do that. I was not going to be able to be a good dad, and only see my kids, less than half the time, because I was going to be traveling half the time. And so, I was barely going to see my kids, and I made the determination, like, I need to go do something else. And now, again, we already had this business. We were kind of letting it run on the side, and it was kind of just a side hustle business for us. But really, that was the biggest determination for me to make and jump the ship, is like,
so that's when you went from active duty to active reserve?
Yeah.
Okay.
And made that shift from, active duty to active reserve, and said, I got to be here for my kids first. Like, that's where I need to be. I need to be at their games. I need to be able to go to lunches with them after school or whatever it might be, but I need to be there for them first, and then, the rest of the stuff will work out.
And so one of the things I've noticed, like, I think you're an awesome dude. You're a cool dude. I also sometimes realize, like, yeah, we'd have a beer together, but not the person I'd like hang out with every day. Prime example is I used to be involved with a nonprofit with Rourke Denver was on the board. And after their annual gala, the first year I sat right next to Rourke, who people who don't know who Rourke Denver is, he was the commander in the movie Act of Valor, Navy SEAL on the West Coast teams, correct?
Yeah.
And the back of his business card says, "Calm is contagious." Anyone who knows me knows that is the exact opposite of me. So the following year, after the gala, at the end of the night with like all the people involved, the late night steak dinner, I sat away from work at the table, and not just because we got along fine, and but I always pick up on things, and that's one of the things I noticed with you. I'm like, yeah, Sean's a cool dude. Probably won't like be hitting up each other all the time, but have a beer or two. But I noticed the little things you do. And one of them is like when we go out to eat, you like limit your carbs. Yeah. Like, so do you drink at all? Do you have beer?
Yeah, I do here or there.
Yeah, same. I'm the same. Like I'll have a cocktail or like a good beer with a steak. But like, do you think that's one of the keys to success is like the little things, like not having the bun with the burger, or and if that's so, like what little things do you try to do to add up to big wins?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, yes, I do agree, and I'm not perfect. I also don't like. I'm not one to sit here and want to go on stage and be a fitness model type guy, right? Like more power to those guys, but I also I love to eat and I love to do things, and I just don't want to do that. I pick and choose kind of my battles with that, right? So, there will be times that my biggest crutch is like appetizers. If I go to a party and there's appetizers,
I love dipping
food.
I love dipping
appetizers.
Food. Anything you could put in a dip.
Absolutely. All day long. Like I will absolutely crush. Like literally we'll go to social things like with my wife and things like that with like family or other things. And she just makes fun of me. She's like, "Oh, where's Sean? Oh, I know where he is. He's by the apps table." And literally, I'll just be sitting there crushing, chips and salsa or chips and 7-layer dip or whatever is out there because I just love that stuff. And I'll eat it in excess, right? Like I hate to say it, but I do. But it's like I work out regularly. I try to eat, on a regular basis of things like that. I just try to cut some of my carbs and trying to think when I can make those things, I will, right? But not all the time. Sometimes I do eat a burger with a bun because I want it, like I like that burger with a bun, but I don't, I talked about this right at the beginning of the year and basically, just said the consistency part of things is not that you're perfect every time, right? It's that you do more good than you do bad in literally everything. Every business decision, I'm not going to get them all right? But I need to make sure that most of my business decisions are good business decisions. Some of them are going to be shitty business decisions. And that's just the way it is, eating habits. Like I'm going to try to eat better foods than shittier foods, same thing with working out. But it really comes down to just those little disciplines like that, where you just try to do a little bit better than not. So I think if you could do that, I mean, you could be successful at losing weight. You could be successful at business. I mean, you could be successful at being a dad, right? If you're a good dad more than you're a shitty dad, then you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And that's, so Woody and I are both Eagle Scouts, and we spent over a decade of summer camps together in a row. And one of the things, with scouting, when you go camping, is like leave it better than you found it. Mm-hmm. And, I think closely after your divorce, I went through a divorce, and it was a tough divorce. And it caused me to not act as I usually would. And fortunately, I've gotten through that and a lot of self-analyzation. And one of the things I've come to realize, kind of what you're saying, is like, if you could leave this earth with leaving one unit of positivity, like try not to leave it in the negative. Yeah. Leave it net neutral. But if you could leave this earth with one unit of positivity of like what you've done to add to this earth, whether it's through relationships or business dealings, like that's kind of the ultimate goal. Like at least like a +1,
Well, the way I like to look at it is, and I went down and I had to write this out. So in 2 sentences or less, if you had to write your obituary today, how would you write it? Right. And like, what do you want on your tombstone to say when you die? Right. And I thought about it for a minute. And for me, it's my work. It's working out and my family. Like I want my work to make an impact. I want my working out to inspire someone else. And then I want for my family, I want to lead them to be the best version of themselves. Right. So that's what I want on my tombstone. If on my tombstone it says, "Hey, Sean Matson loved the New York Giants," I fucking failed, right? Like, I don't want people to know that I like the New York Giants. Like, in fact, like, I don't want them to even think that I like sports. I hope they never know that I like sports. And really, I don't like sports, but I could care less about who plays football or basketball or whatever. But the point is right, like, those are the three things for me that get me up in the morning, that I put my time and effort into. Like, I'm not a really, like, exciting person to be around unless it's with those three things, right? Like, if it's something with my work, if it's something with my family, if it's something working out, like, I will move heaven and earth to make those things happen. And, again, I'm not the best dad. I'm not the best, husband all the time, but I try on more often than not, try to do better than I am at than being bad.
Yeah. Just totally forgot what the hell I was going to say. But,
yeah.
So
exactly my
New York
point.
Giant fan. Got it.
Yeah.
No,
so when I get to speak at Sean's funeral, I'm going to say,
he
hey
loved
guys,
the
just so you
Giants,
know, he
Eli
loved
Manning.
the New York Giant. Eli
cried
Manning.
when he retired.
I'll just be looking down and be like, fuck you. You're an asshole.
That's one of the working out aspect. One of the things I think the military, especially when you're in like kind of a fast moving unit, is it aligns you with the most perfect workout partner. You'll find that guy. That is the hardest thing to recreate, I feel, once post military. It's finding the perfect workout partner.
Yeah.
I mean, my best friend from the military unfortunately passed away in 2016 from burn pit exposure. But like just finding that workout partner, that's the one thing I'm like, damn, like you find that perfect alignment. Like, yo, bro, we're gonna be here at like 05:30. We're gonna do this. Like, similar body, similar strength. Like,
yeah.
Have you found that person since or
no? So I mean, well, one, I mean, I get to work out with my business partner. I mean, we have a gym in our workspace. Right now we don't, because we had to take it down because we just don't have enough space. But he and I have a funny routine, and we've done it since we were in the teams together. So whenever we go for a run, right, if conversation doesn't happen, like if someone breaks a conversation and it goes on for more than 30 seconds, then it automatically becomes a competition then. And so, like, we'll be sitting there running, and like nobody.
So if there's 30 seconds of dead time.
Yes, 30 seconds of dead time. So that's like that's the thing, right? And it's so like we'd be running, and all of a sudden, like, literally it'd just be quiet for a little bit because we're pushing each other, and then like it'd be like 25 seconds of like dead time. We'd be like, hey, so what do you think about this weather? Just to make conversation, so it doesn't like. But that was always like our little like thing for each other. It was like why did we ever, whenever it stops the conversation for a little bit, does it turn into a competition? We're like, all right, so here's the rule. We'll just make that known now, and then we're like, we've got to break conversation every now and then, so it just doesn't always turn into a competition.
It's like you start getting inside your own head, thinking about what's inside his head.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this motherfucker.
Yeah,
like
he's going up. He's going a little bit faster. He's trying to spit. Yeah,
he's better at the uphill. He knows that uphill's coming.
Always, always. So it's just something. But I mean, I have found and really like I do struggle with I mean, we don't get to work out as much, just traveling and things like that, and everything is as much anymore. But like, I think for me, it's constantly just trying to put a new goal out there to try to achieve something different, right? And it gives me something to do. And right now I'm actually working with a guy, and he's out in Texas. So I mean, it's not really like working out with him, but what he's doing for me is he's building workouts for me to do on an app, and then I have to go do those workouts. So it was kind of cool because he is a strength and fitness coach, but then he helps me critique some things and stuff like that. But he's obviously not in the gym with me. But it does give me some accountability to that, because it's like, shit, like I don't really want to do this workout today, but I'm like, damn it, I know he's going to be like, hey, why didn't you do your workout today? Like, what's going on? So
now, what's your day-to-day like? And did you accept that you didn't have to? Are you one of those freaks that maintain like the SEAL regiment as soon as you got out? Like that famous SEAL whose name starts with a J, who's like up at 4:30 anymore every morning?
No.
Or did you accept that? Like, hey, it's okay. I got to be up at 4:30.
So, and like I don't have like I don't have a strict like I got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, right? Like, and I heard this just this week, and I'm gonna forever steal this from this guy. I think his name was Naive. He's like a billionaire, like guy that wants to solve like all medical disorders, and I mean, just a massive brain. And I heard him and talking about the same thing, because someone was like, "Hey, I want to ask you, you know, what's your morning routine, and what's this and this and this, and how do you do this?" And he's like, "First of all, that's all bullshit." And I was like, "Oh, all right, I want to hear this, because I really
go on."
Yeah. I was like, I want to hear this. Well, I want to hear what this guy says, because like I have the same feeling, but I could never articulate it. And so then the next thing he said was, "Listen, all right, so let's just say Tony Robbins, who, you know, everybody knows, is very successful and things like that. Tony Robbins every morning takes a cold shower, and he eats a bowl of Fruit Loops, and he does this and this.
I fucking hate cold showers.
So listen, right? So he does this and this and this and this and this, and everyone thinks that will make me successful. So let me say this: go do that for a month and tell me if you're successful. You're not going to be successful, because just because you do those things doesn't mean you're going to be Tony Robbins. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly right, right? Because like, it is good idea to have some structure to your day, but like, again, and time management skills and all those things like that you need to have as an entrepreneur, or just as a human being, right? Because if not, you're going to go crazy. For me, again, I make it very simple for me. I have 3 things in a day that I need to accomplish, right? Like I have to work out, I have to spend time with my family, and I got to accomplish stuff in my business. And usually in my business, I usually try to, again, do 3 things in there where it's like, I have these 3 things that I have to accomplish that day. And usually they're, you know, higher things that I need to accomplish. And then that day to me is successful. I know I'm going to accomplish more than those 3 things, but like, that to me is because I'm having to do different things or get pulled away for something, or you know, my kids come in and say, "Hey, Dad, let's go through the baseball. Let's go do this." Like, I just know my time gets eaten up for some of these other things. But like, I don't have any like crazy things. It's like, I wake up, I do, you know, I write down in my journal, I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this, because I think if you put all of it into that thought, and you don't do one of those things, you immediately start thinking you're a failure, and you start thinking negative, right? I keep things very simple. Like, I don't want to start my day off with negative thoughts or negative things into this. So I guess if you want to say my routine of anything is, I wake up and I drink a glass of water. Like, that's what I want to do each morning, is I want to wake up and I want to get a glass of water. I just feel like I feel better as a person when I wake up, get a good glass of water in me, and I drink my coffee, and I kind of get to work. You know, but I don't have any crazy things. To me, that's a win. I get up, I get my glass of water, and I start my day off with a positive win. And I didn't, you know, put all these things on my plate right at the beginning of the day, and then I miss one, and then I'm like, oh, I suck at life, because, you know, all these people tell me I have to do these 10 things to be successful, and I only did 8 of them, and now I'm not going to be successful. And you just start this downward spiral.
Yeah, that's you know, the military trains you especially to work out in the morning. And I used to always work out in the morning. If I don't work out by 10, I wasn't going to work out, was the mindset. And then, you know, you learn that you could operate on high levels without sleep, and especially in the special ops community. You know, simple statement, I believe that's what separates special ops in America from anyone else in the world, the ability to operate at extremely high levels while sleep deprived. So just that whole military culture and mindset, and working out early in the morning, and then going through something like a divorce, you know, you get that hyper vigilance. Anyone who's ever been through a situation like that, or in like a combat scenario, your body doesn't care about sleep. Your body doesn't care about eating. You could just be up for days like you're on drugs, just thinking ready at the time. And so through the divorce, one of the things I learned is like, just go to fucking sleep. And Woody behind the camera coined it best, like, sleep as a weapon. Like, and you know, that's one of the things I've like, you know, sleep as a weapon, go to sleep. Like, and then a young woman who I'm seeing right now, she's from the Eastern Shore. She's a surfer girl, and she's kind of taught me like, hey, like, maybe it's okay to sleep in. You don't have to get up and run your 5 miles in the morning.
Right.
And so just like, you know, and learning from others, and that acceptance of like I could go run right now at 5 p.m. I don't have to like run first thing in the morning. I'm not a failure.
Yeah.
And laying in bed with someone you love and spending time with someone you love, which is, invaluable. Like that's a win.
Yeah.
So
I will say I do enjoy just in terms of working out, just from swimming and other things like that. I do enjoy getting my workout in earlier rather than later. I try to get it in before, kind of first thing, earlier in the morning. But I also, in the last year or so, I have a year and a half year old kid. So that's kind of changed a little bit of that routine because, my gym at my house is right below his bedroom. So like, I'm not going to go in there at 5 a.m. and start throwing around the weights. And my wife's like, you fucking idiot. Like, we were up all night and now you had to just go work out too. It's like, so, some of that has changed a little bit, but I do generally like to work out earlier in the day. I feel better for myself if I do.
Yes, most definitely. I'm the same. And there's an American author. I can't think of it. I could be completely wrong. A poet or author, might not be from America, but his quote is, "There's secrets in the morning wind."
Yeah.
And like, you get up early, you run Chicks Beach.
Yeah.
I see your buddy Scott Taylor every now and then at the gym I built out there. Working out early in the morning. It's like you're kind of ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Like you've learned something for that day that no one else has learned.
And the thing is it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be 5 miles. It doesn't have to. It could literally be a 1 mile walk.
Yeah.
Right. Like just getting out. Like and so I do get up. I do those things. But like again, it's not like if I didn't get my workout in by 9 a.m., like it's not a failure. Like I'm going to get my workout in sometime during the day. And usually it is, within the next couple hours. Cause again, I try to get it in before lunch just cause I like that routine for me. And, from swimming and everything else, I don't know. My mind starts going other places and I start getting distracted with other things. And it's like immediately the rest of the day starts clicking and, kids start coming home from school and it's just like, eating, making dinner and cooking and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, nope. I really quickly can just be like, oh, work out tomorrow, because after about, at some point it's just like that threshold. It's like, nope, it's just going to be tomorrow. It's going to be a workout tomorrow.
Yeah. Through your military career and then venturing into the business career, where were the paradigm shifts in the sense of like on the teams, when did you know like, all right, I could do this? But then also on the teams, when did you know, like, all right, I don't really want to do this? And then with your business, when did you guys realize, like, all right, like, we could do this? Like, what were those paradigm shifts, if you could recall?
So in the teams, I think, especially for me as an officer, coming in as an officer and supposed to, lead my platoon or as a junior officer, as a AOIC, assistant officer in charge. It's extremely humbling when, you're looking at your platoon as this new guy and you've got guys there that have already 3-4 deployments. Most of them at the time were all coming back from Iraq and combat deployments. And so like, I'm like sitting there going, oh, great. Like I'm supposed to lead these guys, it's like, so, but what they do really well, and I think our community does really well with that is they know that I don't know shit, right? But they allow you to give your take on things and do it in a professional way where they're like, hey, sir, hey, let's think about this. Let's think about this. Have you thought about this? And help you build that plan rather than expecting you to just be like, hey, what do you want us to do, sir? And it's like, if we don't know how to do it, we're just going to fail. It's like, no, like, cause they want to succeed too. Right. And so I think they do a good job of that. I mean, trust me that, the SEAL community has plenty of bad things that we don't do well, but I think that's one thing, at least in my experience, that happened well with my platoon is they allowed me to learn and understand like my role within that platoon. And they knew that, that had to come with their knowledge and experience and help kind of, okay, we can all come together with a good plan. So that was probably when I realized, like, I mean, right from the beginning that, hey, I can do this because these guys are there to, help me, make sure we do this. On the business side of things, really it was, like again, I said, like we started the company in 2010, but we didn't actually get that product until 2013 on the market. But 2006 when we started having this idea, but just, after talking to so many different people, and they were just like, you just need to go build it. You just need to go build it. And I don't know how many times we heard that. And we're just like, yeah, but we could sell this to this company and, make millions of dollars and, walk away, because the government buys 44,000 new nets a year, and it's like $60 or $70 million a year worth of new nets that they buy. And we're like, oh man, like we could do all this stuff with that and blah blah blah. And it's like, come to find out, it's like, no, this is not really something they want. And so we're like, how do we get this to market? Again, all these people telling us like, hey, you just got to go build it. And so finally we sat down with my grandma, and she was like, I'll help you build it. Because she sewed, she was a seamstress, and she was like, I'll help you build it. Out. No. And so literally we just like.
She gets her like neighborhood friends.
No, she used to do like very high end like drapery and things like that. And she had her own business. And actually some of our tables in Matbock are from her shop. And so she was like, I'll help you build it. And immediately we were just like, all right, let's go do this. It was like, it was just someone giving you that little bit of extra confidence to say, okay, like we can go do this, we can go build it. And so that for me, so both both the military and the business side of things.
Yeah, and that's something I think a lot of people take for granted, is that someone as successful as you, and then I'm striving for success, but at the same time, like I'm 6'4" tall dude, like we all have insecurities.
Yeah.
Like we all, like, no matter how successful you are in something, if you try to transition to something else, you're going to be insecure. And like this being the first podcast, and I was setting this up, and one of those things, like I was trying to get this perfect, and people are like, yo, dude, just go fucking like talk to someone. I'm like, yeah, but like I gotta have this. And like, dude, like it's an art, and you got it's not going to be perfect. Like you got it. And this leads to the next question. One of the things like I want to get into, and my question for you is like, is there something you want to try that is more of kind of like a free-spirited thought? Like for me, I want to get into stand-up comedy. Kind of hard right now with COVID being done. Yeah. I mean, as much as I talk to people, anyone who knows me would be like, dude, you're afraid to go on a podcast that you in your house and the studio you built and talk to someone. You're afraid to, like, you say the most ludicrous shit in the world. Like, Michael, you're afraid to go up in front of people and just say what's on your fucking mind. Right. I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, I'm nervous about it.
Yeah.
And so, there's always, I think that's interesting, and people would like to hear that. I like hearing that from you, is that you're always going to be insecure. So shifting, like, is there something you want to try doing? Like, if you had the time, like, would you try XYZ?
Honestly, like, there's not anything right now that I immediate, like, hey, I want to go do something. I love what I'm doing right now. So I don't really have anything specific that's like, okay, I want to go do that. I do set, like I said, like little goals here or there. Like one of my goals right now is I'm training to try to break the world record while wearing an EOD bomb suit in the 1 mile run.
You've been trying that for a while, or you've been running in that for a while.
Yeah. I tried it 2 years ago, and last year we didn't get to do it because of COVID and stuff like that. And the first year that I attempted it, so all my pre-runs up to it, like they were on target and ready to go. And then when I went up to go do it, something clicked, and I was racing the other people rather than myself, and I just didn't do my plan, and I went out way too fast. And so
what's the record?
7:24.
And how much does the suit weigh?
80 to 85 pounds, depending on which kind of model and which size you're wearing. But yeah, it's a heavy thing. And like all my training runs 2 years ago, I was sub 7 minutes. So like I was going into it really confident. I felt good. I didn't have any injuries to it. And so I was feeling good about it. But, the lesson I learned from that is I need a pacer. So I'm going to have a pacer this year. So
what time of year are you running at?
So it's April 3rd is we're going to go up to Northern Virginia and do the race. So I'm going to attempt it for the male side, and there's a female, her name's Katie. She's going to attempt it for the female.
Cause that makes a huge difference what time of year it is.
Yeah. April will be a good time. So,
right around cherry blossoms up in Northern Virginia. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Should run it here in August.
No, definitely not. But so I mean that to me is, as I say, trying to set myself up for goals like that, where I can train for it, I can work towards them, and do. I still enjoy a lot of things like that. Just that fit in that wheelhouse.
And then I know you got a call in about 10 minutes. As far as there's a lot of young men and women, hopefully that will be listening to this, that aspire to join the military, and potentially go down in one of the more elite paths. And there are, certain like women could be EOD, but what do you think's the key from your experience? Like like you said, everyone's different. You never know what's going on in someone's mind. They have all the new pre-programs now, but essentially they're just building a stronger, faster quitter.
Yeah.
So like from your perspective, like what are some things that you think people should look into, pitfalls or keys to success?
So like one of the things I think is like, I got told so many times, like, hey, go take cold showers, go do this, all these things again, like, it's like, but every time I've ever gotten into cold water, taken a cold shower, it's always sucked, right? Like I never, like never once did I jump into an ice bath and be like, man, this feels fucking great. It's cold. And it's like, you can't build, it's not like a muscle. You're not training it. You can't build a tolerance like to it. And I know people will argue that because people, take these ice baths all the time and stuff like that. The thing is they're still cold. They've just learned to like, okay, I'm good with it, right? And so that to me, that ADHD or ADD, like I do think that has something to do with what makes someone that can make it through. I think that the guys that make it through, like they just never focused on the suck long enough. It's like you're sitting there getting surf torture and you're like, ah, man, this fucking sucks. You're like, oh, look, a butterfly. Like, it's like something else happens. You're like, oh, look, I wonder what those people are doing down the beach. It's like.
But then you see the 5-year-olds in the water because kids don't feel cold. And you're like,
yeah. That's not right.
If they're in the water.
Yeah. So I think also the other thing that people do is they get into these training routines and, they want to be a SEAL, they want to be a Ranger, they want to be a SF, they want to, whatever it is. And they start taking these programs that aren't developed by guys that went through the program. And, they start getting onto these things where it's like how much they can deadlift and bench press. It's like, nobody fucking cares how much you can bench press, right? You got to do a test that has nothing to do with bench pressing. So why are you worried about your bench press or your squat? There is something to be said about those exercises, and you should definitely be doing them in your routine before you're training for them. But like, if you need to do 100 push-ups in 2 minutes, you better fucking be able to do 100 push-ups in 2 minutes. No one cares if you can bench press 225. It's like, and so I get this question, on social media sometimes, and people are like, oh, I did this thing and I'm squatting this and I'm doing this. And I was like, I don't fucking care. Like, what are your PST scores?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, I suck at running. Well, guess what you need to work on? Running. You don't need to worry about your squat. You need to worry about running. You need to be able to do the 1.5 miles and whatever the time is to be competitive, 10 minutes or whatever. But like, that's what you need to focus on. You need to get a running coach and you need to focus on getting that run time down. And then you need to focus on, once you get that run time down, focus on doing the entire test, being exhausted, and then being able to make that run time, So I would say anybody that's aspiring to do it, focus on the test that you have to pass and be a master at that. Do a workout. And then go right into that whatever that test looks like for your specific branch or service you're trying to get into, and be able to absolutely crush it and be competitive in all of the disciplines. And if you're not in one of the areas, like I sucked at pull-ups, I still suck at pull-ups, but I knew with all my other scores that I was going to be okay. But I did work really hard. Like every time I was doing a workout, I tried to incorporate pull-ups because that was my weakest part of that test.
Yeah, and on my deployment, so I was nowhere near the level of being in a unit you were. But one of the things I quickly learned is that, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think any amount of muscles ever stopped around.
No.
Like, and I come from a family of fucking Vikings.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the shortest dude in my family.
Yeah.
Like, I could bench for a week and just be like this.
Yeah.
So, I quickly learned, I'm like, yeah, muscle mass isn't really important.
Uh-uh.
And one of the things I would train with, and something I still hold today, is like, I would train without like hydrating.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a fine line. You got to avoid ribo, but like I could go 2, 3, 4 hours running in August heat here and doing yard work and without hydrating. Because I realize that's something that's more realistic that's going to happen.
Yep.
Especially in a combat scenario. But I quickly learned, I'm like, yeah, muscle doesn't really stop around. So like, this is going to do me no good.
Exactly. That's the thing. They just, they see, I don't know. I've had it, like, people are like, you were a SEAL? Like, you look nothing like a SEAL. Like, well, guess what? Every other SEAL I know kind of looks about like my height, my size, and the average guy that's a SEAL is about 5'10", like 180, 190 pounds. Like, that's what you see. Like, that's what it is. It's not this, Hulk style guy that's running around. Like, there are a few of those guys, but for the most part, they're not, because like you said, like running.
And it's a calorie gain.
Yeah,
I mean, at 6'4", 228, at 10% body fat, I look like Ivan Drago.
Yeah.
But I'm still 50 pounds bigger than someone 180.
Yeah.
And that calories is so much more. Like,
Everything just, consumption for you is significantly more, right? Everything on that, to do a pull-up,
plates are bigger,
to do everything.
Bigger,
It's just, it's so much more. But, and also on the other side, right? For me to have to carry you and everything else, it's like, man, I hope this guy doesn't make it, because I don't want to carry you.
Big booty from playing college football, and then someone's buddy carrying in the pool, and you're just like a dead weight.
Like, damn, that guy was heavy.
No, definitely. I think this has been awesome. I know you got to get going.
No, I appreciate it.
I hope to have you back on as viewership grows, and then once we edit it, I'll let you look at it, and we'll figure out a good social media blast.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely put it online too. And,
I got some fine smoked meats downstairs for you. We'll make you to-go plate.
Sweet.
And so I'll be doing the podcast and then hopefully renting out studio time to people that want to rent the studio. It's coming along. I know you all can't see it behind the cameras, but
it's definitely good, man. And I we talked about it at lunch a couple weeks back, and I think it's a need for this, and especially here in the community. And I'm definitely happy to help in any way I can. If I can, I'll post it online. I don't have a huge following and things like that, but
it comes from your past. Like you're not really used to having the social media. When you're on the teams, like, and Woody and I were looking at it, and he's like, he doesn't have a huge. I'm like, yeah, it kind of comes with like your former career. You're not really.
I try to do a little bit here or there, but I know there's more people like. I mean, they're literally on it all day, posting on their stories,
so time-consuming.
And it's like. I know there's a need for it, and I know that is, but like, again, it's for me, I'm so much focused on other things right now. Like that to me, I make and allow it to take up my time than to sit there and do that.
No, definitely. And I think the cool thing about the studio and once we start marketing it for people who want to rent it to do podcasts is like everyone hears about, the Navy SEALs, the Green Berets, but there's so many different entities in the military. Like you could get Seabees to have a podcast.
Dude, absolutely.
There's so many Seabees that could relate to whatever stories they're going to talk about. Like, oh man, like, yeah, I remember that shit. Like,
yeah. See, I mean, I never looked at any, I mean, the SEAL community, we had plenty of support and enablers, and I mean, inside the Navy and outside the Navy, I never once looked at that as like they weren't part of the team, right? Because like, there's plenty of times it's like we weren't going anywhere unless that intel guy could figure out how to connect, a couple dots together to make that happen. And so like I loved picking their brain, just as much as I love picking the brain of like some of my platoon mates, because it's just interesting that a guy that has human or SIGINT intelligence or just an overall analyst, and you're going in and talking to them and just like a whole different perspective of how they see targeting and battlefield, and they definitely bring a lot of value to the team.
Oh yeah, and like to wrap it up, after I got injured and jacked up and sent back to Little Creek awaiting surgery, I was roommates with a dude who was an AG on the team. So I'm like, and that's when I learned about just a whole realm of like special ops and the support. Like, wait, you're a weatherman in the military and you're on the teams. He's like, yeah, if you're dropping bombs, you gotta kind of know where like
absolutely
the different winds.
Absolutely, and I mean they make or break sometimes the operation. It's like, hey man, is that dust storm going to come in and, blow out our, it's like you're going to have this window to go hit this target, or your medevac goes to red and then you no longer can launch on your mission. I mean, those are critical things to know, especially as you get, more into the leadership roles of like the XO and CO, and they're really like, they're the ones that are signing off on these missions. But, if that weather guy messes up and he was like, hey guys, you can launch on this mission, and, we launch, and then all of a sudden it's like everything turns red, and it's like, oh, just kidding, that was a bad,
you're all of a sudden on Mars.
Yeah, the CO is not going to be happy.
In front of your face.
Yeah, the CO is not going to be happy that the weather guy screwed up like that. Yeah. So.
Awesome, man. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got to get going. We'll,
good seeing you, man.
Get some meat downstairs.
Yeah.
And then any suggestions, anyone to come on and talk as we start to advance this would be
I definitely will. Yeah, I know a couple people here locally that would definitely join in. So
awesome.
Be awesome.
All right, thank you, Sean.
All right, see you. Yeah, man. I appreciate it. Sorry.
No, dude. You're a busy man.
It's nuts. Good meeting you, man.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Hey, next time we'll update some things. I'll get some like details from you.
Sure.
And we'll promote the, like all the things you're doing, Matbock and was it
Cardomax.
Cardomax and all that stuff. Maybe this will be just like one more outlet.
Sure. I can send you some of the files if you want to throw them in, like logo and some of that stuff or whatever.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna put a whole bunch of video and pictures over some of these because there were some parts where it was like, you guys noticed the like cut.
Yeah.
I realized I was hitting a like bandwidth on this.
All good.
Your camera was great.